Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So for today, video tutorial, I'll be teaching you, or we'll be building a simple game that is the name of the game is Space Invader. So this will be the expected output of our video for the day. So this is I'll be using AirDroid as for the mirroring of my phone to my computer. So we have here the Space Invader and the start button. And as you can see here, there are 3 missiles, 1 rocket, and a saucer. And every time the rocket collides with the saucer, there will be a sound of explosion. And every time the rocket reach the edge of the screen, there will be a new missile that will come out on the rocket. So the thing that will make this game over is when the saucer or the UFO reach the edge at the bottom. So we have here also the game over, and we can restart the game, of course, with the 3 missiles, the rocket, and the saucer. So every time the saucer or the missile collide with the saucer, we have this score, and the saucer speed increase by 0.25. It makes the game more exciting and more difficult when you reach a high score. Okay, so that will be our activity or the application that we will be building today. To start with, I have here the final finished product of the application. So to start with, let's click my project and start new project. So this is the Space Invader. You just rename your project as the exercise 5, your last name, your first name, and your middle initial, and click OK. And after that, let's wait for the screen. So in here, we can connect our cell phone in the MIT App Inventor by using connect and click the AI companion. Then here we have the QR code and the code, 6-digit code, so 6-character code. Let's enter this in the phone. So we have here AEUGST. So connect with code. Unable to pose. AEUGST. So let's try it again. AI companion, then back, and then 6-character code. So VCJOBW. So we can now connect our MIT App Inventor to our cell phone so that we can able to see the output of our application in our screen. So the first thing to do is we'll create the startup screen for our application. So let's have a layout, and let's drag a vertical arrangement and aligned center for horizontal and vertical. And for the height, let's click the fill parent, and for the width also fill parent. For the image, let's upload a file, and that is the BG or the background. So this will be our background, and we want our screen to be full screen without the screen 1 on the top. So to remove the screen 1 on the top, just click the screen 1 on the component and go to the properties and check the title visible so that we have the full screen of our phone. Then after that, let's go again to vertical arrangement, and let's have the user interface, image, and a button. So for the image, I created a picture for the title of our game or the application. So that is the Space Invader. Let's click OK. I created a PNG file so that there will be no background on our title. Then let's have the button, rename it as the Start button. So it is important for us to rename our components, because as we go along with the code blocks, okay, we will not be able to find what is the name of the components that we use. So let's have the text to start. Change the start and the font size to at least 20. Then let's make it the bold font and the background color as white. The shape will be rounded and the width maybe at least 30%. So we have now our title screen, the Space Invader and the Start button. And after that, let's have also a clock. Let's drag a clock and media up. So every time that we open the application, we can hear a sound of a startup game. So let's have the sound source. Click the source and upload file. And I have here the start sound. Click OK. And we have the minimum interval. So that is 0.5 seconds. Let's change it to 5,000. So 5,000 is 5 seconds. And then we have the clock. And let's have a new screen. Let's add a new screen for the second screen. So add screen. And the screen name is screen 2. Click OK. So we are finished on the layout of our screen 1. Let's have the layout of the screen 2. So to start with, let's have the drawing and animation. Let's drag a canvas and let's change the height to fill parent and also the width to fill parent. So the fill parent will adjust the size, the height and width according to the screen size. For the background image, let's select the background or the bg.jpg that we entered a while ago. The next is let's have the screen 2 to the properties and check the title visible, and let's drag a image sprite. So we will be dragging 5 image sprite. First is for the saucer, then the 3 image sprite is for the missiles, and the last image sprite is for the rocket. So this image sprite can be dragged on a canvas, so we can able to manipulate them in our code blocks. So let's start with the saucer. Rename it as the saucer sprite, and let's have the picture. Let's upload a picture of a saucer. That's the saucer. Click OK. Adjust the height to 40 pixels and the width to 40 pixels. And let's uncheck the rotates, because when this is checked, every time you change the heading or the heading of the saucer, it will rotate according to where it is headed. Then image sprite 4. So this will be the missile 1. Let's rename it as the missile 1. Upload file, choose file, and then the missile. Click OK. So we have the missile 1, and also uncheck the rotates. Next is for the missile 2. Rename it as the missile 2. And after that, let's have the picture also as the missile. And for this, missile 3, missile number 3. Picture also the missile.png, and check the rotates. Next, last for the rocket, rename it as the rocket sprite. Upload a picture of the rocket. Click OK, and we have the rocket. As you can see in our mirror of our phone, the position of the rocket is in the almost in the middle, but in our screen size here, because we only have 505 pixel by 320 pixel. So to change that according to your phone size, X is for the x-axis or the horizontal, and the Y is for the y-axis or the vertical. So let's change the y-axis, the Y of our rocket, to 570, and we can see here almost at the bottom. Okay. Then after that, let's have a scoring. So we'll be putting a scoreboard. Let's have a horizontal arrangement at the top of our canvas. So don't worry if our canvas adjusts slightly. And then align this horizontal to center and the vertical to center, and the height at least 5%, and the width to fill parent. And the background should be the BG, so that every time we play, it's almost the same as the background of our canvas. The next is we drag a two label. The first label is for the text of the score, and change the text color to white, and let's make it the font bold. Okay. And then for the next, rename it as the score label, change the text to 0, the text color to white, and font bold. Okay, so this will be our scoreboard. Every time the missile collide with the saucer, it will increase it by 1. The next, let's have the game over screen, or the game over layout. Let's drag a vertical arrangement at the middle of the scoreboard and the canvas. Let's align it center also, and the height, the fill parent, and the width fill parent, and also the background image. The next is, let's drag a label for the game over and the button for the restart. So for the label, let's change the text to game over, and the text color to red, make it bigger, 20, and bold as font bold. And for the button 1, let's rename it as the restart button. Restart button. Then let's change the text to restart, the background color as white, change the font size to at least 16, the shape to rounded, and font bold. Okay, so we have now a game over display. Okay, and let's change the properties of our vertical arrangement visible, and check it so that it will only be shown whenever time our game is over. So let's now proceed with the sound. Let's drag a media. So let's drag a 3 sound. So first sound is for the in-game sound. So every time that we play, there will be a sound. And the next one is for the explosion. Every time that the missile collide with the saucer, the explosion sound will be on. And the next is for the game over sound. Okay. And I think that's it for our layout in the designer. Let's adjust it later. The in-game sound, let's have it to 5000, and the source is, let's upload a file, for the in-game sound. Click OK. And for the explosion, 500, that's okay. Upload file 2 for the explosion sound. Click OK. And the game over sound, let's upload the file for the game over sound. Click OK. And the interval is 5,000. Then go to blocks, and we will now start to code, or let's have this application to play. The first is to play the in-game sound. So let's go to the initialize screen 2, then drag the screen to initialize, and let's call the in-game sound to play. Next is the saucer sprite. Let's set the speed of the saucer sprite to 10. So let's go to math and drag the number, so 10, and let's duplicate it, the heading, click the heading, change it to -90. The -90 is going downward. Next is let's set our missile heading also to, instead of going down, it will go up. Heading to 90. Let's duplicate this for the remaining two, missile 2 and missile 3. And for the speed, duplicate the saucer sprite and let's change it to missile 1 for the speed of 10. Duplicate for the missile 2 and duplicate it for the missile 3. Okay, then let's check, refresh the companion. So as you can see here on our app, so we have the saucer going down and our missile going up. So one of our missile is on, it rotates. So let's check missile of the missile 1. We should, the rotate is unchecked. So let's go to blocks. So as you can see, our missile going up and our saucer going down. Next is for our rocket. So instead of putting a button for left to right, let's have it drag from left to right. So check or click the rocket sprite and drag the rocket sprite that drag. Go to rocket sprite again and go to set the rocket X. So rocket X is for the position of the X-axis from left to right. And let's have the current X. Get the current X. So every time we move our fingers from left to right, okay, the rocket will go from left to right. So that is the rocket sprite that track. The next is let's have a when any image sprite. So with the any components here, we can see here we can have the any image sprite and edge reach. When it reaches the edge, so what will happen? So let's have a if else in our control, and if else then go to math and let's have this equal. So if the saucer is equal to get component, so go to saucer sprite and let's have the saucer sprite is equal to get the component. So what will happen if the saucer sprite is equal to get the component? Let's go back to our any image sprite. So call image sprite move to, then get component for the component, and for the X position, let's go to math and let's set the random integer. So that is from 20 to 300. So this is for the X axis. okay, from left to right. So we have the pixels from 0 to 320 on our screen. So I just make it to 20 to 300. And then next for the Y, what's the position of the Y? Let's have it to 0 at the bottom. So every time the we can see here it reach the edge, it will go again at the top. The next is to duplicate this, else. So what will happen if the rocket or the missile will do the same, okay, when they reach the edge. So let's have the get component. Instead of this random integer, let's remove this, and let's go to the rocket on our canvas, so rocket sprite, and let's get the rocket X as the position of our missiles, right? And change to Y to 570, right? So that's the position of our rocket. And the next is when the saucer is collide with the with our other image sprite. So what will happen? So saucer sprite collide with, let's call the explosion sound to play, and then let's call the saucer to move to at the top. So call saucer sprite, then call move to, of course, the random integer, and the Y to 0, and then duplicate this for our missile. So instead of get component, get the other. So rocket sprite.x and then 570. So every time one of the missile collide with the saucer, it will disappear and go again with the rocket position. Then for the scoring, let's have a variable, global variable, and rename it as the score, and let's have a value of 0. This will be our global variable for our score. And let's set the saucer speed first. Every time it collides with the rocket, it will increase the speed to 0.25. So let's have this in at the last, and let's have a math to add the speed of the saucer to 0.25. Then go to saucer sprite and get the saucer speed, saucer sprite speed, and go to math, add a 0.25 value. So every time the saucer collide with the missile, it will add the speed of 0.25, so it makes the game more difficult as the game goes by. Then let's have the scoring. Go to score label .text. So set the score label .text, okay, and add the global variable. So let's have a math, then add, get the global score, and let's duplicate this, add a 1, okay. It will add the score label .text to additional 1, and of course it's just looping, okay. So let's have the global score to add also 1. So every time the missile collide with the saucer, it will add the score to 1, and set the global variable score to +1. Next is when the saucer, let's refresh first. When the saucer reach the edge of at the bottom, what will happen? It will game, or it will make the game over, okay. So let's have the saucer sprite edge reach. Let's have the in-game sound to stop or to pause for a while, and the game over sound to play. Then we need to set the canvas visible to false. And let's make the visibility of the vertical arrangement to true. Okay, and so that's the game over. And let's call the canvas 1 to clear, and the saucer visibility to false. So that's for the game over. And then when the restart button is clicked, what will happen? So let's go to the start button, and when the start button is clicked, let's set the canvas visible. So canvas, and then set the visibility to true, and make the saucer also visible. So let's just have this right at the bottom so that we can copy. So set the saucer sprite visible to true, and let's set the vertical arrangement to false, and let's make the saucer sprite speed to set again to 10, and set the global score to 0. Let's go to math and drag a 0, and also the score label, that text, make it also to 0. Let's set the saucer Y to 0. Go to saucer Y, the saucer sprite. So our saucer sprite will go at the top. So the value is 0. And also set our missile. So missile 1, Y. For this, let's set it to the missile 1 to 317, and the missile 2 to 470, and the missile 3 to 570. Okay. So that's for the restart button. So let's move the restart button so that we can see the whole code blocks. Okay. So to test our project, let's refresh the companion app. So as you can see here, we can now play. We have 3 missiles, the saucer, and the rocket. So every time the missile collide with the saucer and the rocket, it will sound with the explosion sound. We can hear the explosion sound. Okay. And when the saucer reach the edge, the bottom edge, okay, it will make our game over. Okay. And we can hear the game over sound. Okay. So that's the end of our tutorial for today. Again, we have here the screen for the layout, and we have the blocks. So if you have any questions or do you have any requests tutorial, just comment down below on our comment section, and I will see you again next time. Goodbye and keep safe.